Good morning, afternoon, evening, family. Today, I need you to hear me with your heart, not just with your ears. Because what I'm about to tell you is not just information, it's your invitation. Invitation. There is a next dimension with your name on it. There's a version of you you haven't even met yet. There are rooms where your spirit has already been announced, even if your feet haven't stepped in yet. But listen, you can't shift into your next dimension carrying the weight of your last season. See, elevation requires separation. Before you can rise, you have to release. Before you can build, you have to believe. Before you can step forward, you have to let go. You don't stumble into your next dimension. You shift intentionally, fiercely, faithfully. Your next level is unlocked through obedience when it doesn't make sense, through courage when you feel unqualified, through surrender when you want to control it all. So today, I dare you. Shift. Shift your mindset. Shift your circle. Shift your vision. Shift your faith. You're not waiting on opportunity. Opportunity is waiting on you. Your next dimension is too powerful, too important, too necessary for you to stay stuck in the same patterns, the same fears, the same excuses. You were created for more, and more is calling, and next is calling, and next is calling. And it's your time to answer. Shift, not later, not when it's easy. Now you have a next dimension waiting with your name on it, expanded into 8 full flowing paragraphs without a conclusion or ending, just like you asked. There is a next dimension that has already been designed with your name attached to it. And before you were even formed, before you ever took your first breath, destiny had already whispered your name into the atmosphere of possibility. This next dimension isn't a random place. It's a divine appointment. It's a realm where your potential meets your preparation, where your gifts collide with God's timing. You're not wandering aimlessly through life. You are on a collision course with greatness, even if right now it feels like you're still stuck in the hallway between seasons. Your next dimension is not something you have to compete for. It's not up for debate. It's already yours. It was tailor-made for you, shaped around your unique calling, your distinct voice, your particular anointing. No one else can step into it because no one else was designed to carry what you carry. No one else can bear the weight of the oil that is being pressed out of you right now. Your journey, your tears, your sacrifices, they have not been in vain. They are the currency that is funding your next elevation. But here's the truth. You have to believe that it's yours even before you can see it. That's where most people miss it. They think seeing is believing, but in the next dimension, believing is seeing. You have to catch it in your spirit before you catch it in your hands. You have to allow your faith to build the framework for the future that your feet haven't walked into yet. When you understand that your next dimension has already been set aside for you, you stop striving, you stop shrinking, and you start shifting. Understand this. Just because it's yours doesn't mean it's automatic. Possession without preparation can be dangerous. God can't release something to you that you're not yet ready to handle. Imagine giving the keys to a powerful car to someone who has never learned how to drive. It's not that they're not worthy. It's that they're not ready. It's that they're not ready. Your next dimension demands maturity, discipline, and the ability to steward the weight of what's coming. It's already prepared, but are you preparing for it? Every challenge you are facing right now is not random. It's training. It's shaping you, stretching you, conditioning you. It's breaking habits that can't survive in the next atmosphere. It's forging the strength you're going to need when you step into larger rooms and greater responsibilities. What you're walking through today is qualifying you for what you're about to walk into tomorrow. Your trials are not evidence that God has forgotten you. They are evidence that He's preparing you for something bigger than you imagined. In your next dimension, favor looks different. It's not about being the most talented, the loudest, or the most connected. It's about being the most aligned. It's about being positioned at the intersection of readiness and obedience. Some doors aren't opening yet, not because you're failing, but because God is still fitting the crown for your head. The version of you who's ready to wear it in peace, in purpose, and with integrity is still being refined. And when the time is right, no force on earth will be able to deny you. Your name has already been spoken in rooms you haven't entered. Your reputation for excellence, for authenticity, for faithfulness, it's already running ahead of you. You're not starting from scratch. You're stepping into promises that were whispered over you when you were still doubting yourself. Your next dimension is the physical manifestation of prayers you forgot you even prayed. It's the yes to dreams you were too scared to chase at the time. It's the harvest of every seed you sowed in private when no one was clapping for you. And so every day you wake up, you have to carry yourself like someone who has an appointment with destiny. You have to make decisions, have conversations, build disciplines that match where you're going, not just where you are. Your next dimension isn't waiting on a better opportunity. It's waiting on a more prepared you. The doors are real. The stage is set. The next dimension exists, and it's patiently, powerfully, persistently waiting for you to step into it. You cannot take yesterday's burdens into tomorrow's blessings. What weighed you down in the last season cannot travel with you into the next one. The next dimension requires lightness, not because the journey will be easier, but because you have to be agile enough to move when God says move. You have to be free enough to respond to opportunity without hesitation. Old weights, guilt, shame, resentment, fear will only slow you down and sabotage the very thing you've been praying for. Some things must be laid down before you can be lifted up. Old mindsets are some of the heaviest weights we carry. The way you thought about yourself, your worth, your potential in the last season will not be sufficient in this one. You have to make peace with the truth that you were created for more, even if that truth confronts everything you've been taught or everything you've been through. You can't step into abundance while still thinking from a place of lack. You can't embrace purpose while clinging to insecurity, futurity. As much as it hurts, you must be willing to release every thought pattern that chains you to the past. There are relationships that served you once, but they are now functioning as anchors when you need wings. Loyalty is a beautiful thing, but loyalty to dysfunction will cost you your destiny. There are people who are essential in the last chapter, but are incompatible with the next one. You have to love them enough to let them go. Not with bitterness, not with arrogance, but with clarity. Some journeys must be walked alone for a season, because the altitude you're headed to will suffocate those who are never built to breathe that level of air. We often think we can outgrow something without ever confronting it, but healing doesn't happen by accident. The traumas you buried, the disappointments you ignored, the betrayals you minimized, they are all weights, silently attached to your spirit. Shifting into your next dimension requires intentional healing. It demands that you stop pretending you're fine and start doing the inner work necessary to become whole. A fractured soul can't sustain a fulfilled life. The cracks you ignore today will become the crises you face tomorrow if they are left unaddressed. There is also the weight of regret, the heavy burden of the what-ifs and the should-haves. Carrying regret into a new season is like trying to run a marathon with a backpack full of stones. Every step becomes harder than it needs to be. The truth is, you cannot change what happened, but you can change how you carry it. The next dimension requires you to extract the lessons and leave the losses. You are allowed to grieve, but you are not allowed to stay stuck. Progress demands that you release the past so you can grab hold of the promise. Fear is perhaps the heaviest and most deceptive weight of all. It masquerades as wisdom sometimes. It dresses up like caution. But underneath it all, fear keeps you small. Fear convinces you that safety is better than destiny, that surviving is better than thriving. To shift into your next dimension, you have to starve your fears and feed your faith. Can feed your faith. Cannot ride shotgun where faith is driving. You have to make a decision every day to operate from a place of possibility rather than a place of panic. There is also the hidden weight of comparison, the silent killer of destiny. Watching someone else's journey and measuring your worth against it will drain your strength faster than any failure ever could. Your path is uniquely yours. Your timing is divinely orchestrated. Your process is perfectly tailored to your purpose. Carrying comparison into your next dimension will cause you to miss the doors that were built specifically for you while you waste time trying to peek into rooms that don't even carry your name. The weights you refuse to confront will eventually become the walls that block you. E. They may be invisible to others, but they are undeniable to you. You can feel them every time you hesitate, every time you self-sabotage, every time you settle. The good news is that surrender is always an option. Release is always available. You don't have to earn your freedom. You just have to choose it. And choosing it daily is how you lighten your load enough to step boldly, unapologetically, and fully into your next dimension. Elevation is a beautiful thing, but it comes at a cost that most people aren't willing to pay. Separation. The higher you go, the more selective you must become. The view at the top is breathtaking, but the climb requires that you leave behind what can't sustain the altitude. Sustain. Not because you're better than anyone else, but because the air is thinner and the weight of unnecessary attachments can suffocate your progress. Separation is not punishment, it is preparation. It is God creating the space necessary for you to stretch, to grow, and to breathe differently. There are places you are called to that certain people cannot enter. There are conversations you are supposed to have that some mindsets cannot understand. When God is elevating you, He is not just giving you new opportunities. He is giving you new vision. And with new vision comes a new circle. You have to surround yourself with people who can see the unseen, who can believe in the invisible, who can celebrate you even when they don't fully understand you. Elevation demands agreement with destiny, not attachment to familiarity. Separation can feel like betrayal when your heart is still attached to the past version of yourself. You might find yourself grieving friendships, environments, even habits that once felt safe. But what once sustained you can eventually suffocate you if you refuse to let it go. The same boat that carried you across one body of water is not the ship that's meant to take you across the ocean. Some connections were for a season, not a lifetime. Learning to discern the difference is part of maturing into your next dimension. Sometimes separation isn't from people, but from your own old identity. You have to be willing to leave behind the version of yourself that played small, that hid in the background, that apologized for their greatness. Elevation demands that you see yourself correctly. As God sees you, you are no longer the insecure, uncertain, afraid person you used to be. You are stepping into a new authority, a new confidence, a new power. But that can only happen if you separate from the lies you've believed about yourself. There will be seasons when God isolates you to insulate you. Isolation can feel lonely, but it is actually a protective grace. It is during these hidden seasons that God strengthens your roots, so your fruit can endure the storms. You are not being overlooked. You are being overhauled. You are not being abandoned. You are being advanced. Trust the separation. Trust the silence. Trust the silence. Trust that elevation requires a season where you and God do the work without an audience, without applause, and without validation. Separation can also happen in the form of opportunities that no longer align with your purpose. Just because an opportunity looks good doesn't mean it's God. In your next dimension, discernment is more important than visibility. You can't say yes to every open door, because not every door leads to your destiny. Some doors are distractions. Some doors are delays. Elevation teaches you to choose purpose over popularity, destiny over comfort, and alignment over ambition. As you separate, you may be misunderstood. People will question your silence. They will assume you have changed, and they will be right. You are changing. You are evolving. You are growing. You are growing. You are no longer available for conversations that diminish your dreams. You are no longer available for spaces that tolerate you, but do not celebrate you. Separation is not arrogance. It's awareness. It's recognizing that your future is too important to negotiate with your past. Elevation requires separation because the higher you go, the narrower the path becomes. Not everyone can fit. Not every habit can survive. Not every thought pattern can continue. You have to be willing to walk through some doors alone, knowing that on the other side is a greater capacity, a deeper anointing, and a life that reflects the fullness of who you were always created to be. Shifting is a deliberate act. It doesn't happen because time passes, or because you wish for it, or because you're tired of where you are. Shifting requires intentional movement, intentional thought, Intentional faith. It demands that you recognize the difference between being busy and being purposeful. You can be busy for years and still be stuck. But when you shift intentionally, every step you take is aligned with your calling, every decision you make is connected to your destiny, and every sacrifice you endure is fueled by your vision for what's coming. You don't stumble into your next dimension by accident. It won't just happen because you showed up. You have to choose it. Day after day, moment after moment, you have to choose to wake up differently, to think differently, to speak differently. You have to intentionally silence the voice of fear and intentionally amplify the voice of faith. You have to intentionally build habits that prepare you for where you're going, not just where you've been. Shift is not a random wave you ride. It's a movement you create with your decisions. There will always be a temptation to wait for a perfect moment. A moment when you feel ready, when the money is right, when the support is there. But shifting doesn't wait for perfection. Shifting creates momentum in imperfection. You will never feel 100% ready, and that's exactly why intentionality matters. Shifting means you move even when your hands are trembling. Shifting means you step out even when the path isn't fully visible. It's the conscious decision to trust the God who called you more than the fear that wants to paralyze you. Every intentional shift begins with a confrontation. You have to confront your excuses, confront your procrastination, confront the ways you've allowed comfort to outweigh purpose. Growth doesn't just happen. Growth is fought for, worked for, prayed for. Shifting means asking yourself hard questions and giving yourself honest answers. What habits are sabotaging your next level? What mindsets are minimizing your impact? What cycles are keeping you on repeat when you were created to move forward? Shifting is a series of small, consistent acts of courage. It's not always about the big, dramatic moves. Sometimes the most powerful shifts happen in the private decisions you make when no one is watching. It's in choosing to pray when you feel weary. It's in choosing to study when you feel tired. It's in choosing to forgive when you feel justified in your anger. These seemingly small acts stack up and build the foundation for the life you are called to live. The intentional shift starts internally long before it ever manifests externally. Intentionality also means being strategic about what you allow into your spirit. What are you feeding your mind? What are you allowing into your atmosphere? You can't expect to shift into a new dimension while still entertaining the same old negativity, gossip, fear, and complacency. You have to protect your mind like it's sacred ground, because it is. Your thoughts are the soil where your future grows. If you sow intentionality, you will reap transformation. If you sow randomness, you will reap regret. Shifting also requires intentional separation from distractions. Not everything that calls your name deserves your energy. Not every invitation needs your RSVP. Part of intentional shifting is learning to say no, not because you're rude, but because you're focused. Every yes to something random is a no to something purposeful. You have to steward your time, your energy, your focus as if they are the keys to your next, because they are. Intentionality turns good opportunities into great outcomes. There's a version of you on the other side of this shift that is stronger, wiser, freer, and more powerful. But you will not meet that version of yourself by accident. You will only meet them through intention, through discipline, through focus, through prayer, through unwavering, day-by-day, step-by-step intentional movement. Shifting into your next dimension is not magic. It is the divine result of your intentional partnership with the purpose that was placed inside of you before you ever knew you needed it. There is a version of you that your next dimension is waiting to meet. It's not the version weighed down by fear, doubt, or insecurity. It's not the version still clinging to old narratives or limiting beliefs. The you that will thrive in the next dimension is stronger, wiser, more disciplined, more faithful. This next level demands an evolved you. Not a perfect you, but a prepared you. Elevation requires transformation. You cannot step into new territory carrying an outdated identity. Who you have been is not enough for where you are going. Becoming that next version of yourself starts internally, not externally. It's easy to think that a new job, a new platform, a new relationship will somehow create a new you. But external shifts without internal transformation will always crumble under pressure. If the heart isn't healed, if the mind isn't renewed, if the spirit isn't strengthened, every opportunity will feel like a burden instead of a blessing. The work that matters most is the work that nobody sees. The deep soul work, the courageous self-honesty, the relentless pursuit of becoming who you were always called to be. Your next dimension requires you to carry authority, not anxiety. Authority over your thoughts, over your emotions, over your choices. You cannot show up second-guessing yourself, waiting for someone else to validate your value. You must walk in the room already knowing who you are and whose you are. Authority isn't arrogance, it's alignment. It's moving in the confidence that you have been called, equipped, and empowered for such a time as this. But authority doesn't fall on you randomly. It is cultivated through intentional preparation. Discipline is the daily sacrifice that the next version of you demands. There are habits you must develop, mindsets you must adopt, and distractions you must overcome. Success is not sexy in the day-to-day. It looks like consistency when nobody is clapping. It looks like saying no to instant gratification so you can say yes to long-term purpose. It looks like studying, praying, planning, stretching when it would be easier to coast. The next dimension won't be unlocked by who you wish to be. It will be unlocked by who you choose to become over and over again. The next version of you also carries emotional maturity. And not give people power over your peace. You must learn to forgive quickly, release gracefully, and focus fiercely. The higher you rise, the more opportunities there will be for offense, betrayal, and disappointment. But you are not called to live at the level of the attack. You are called to live at the level of your assignment. Emotional maturity isn't weakness. It's warrior strength disguised as compassion, wisdom, and discernment. Vision must also expand for the next version of you. Small thinking won't survive in big spaces. Fear-based planning won't sustain kingdom-level moves. You have to train yourself to think bigger, to dream bolder, to expect greater. You must be willing to pray prayers that scare you, take risks that stretch you, and believe in outcomes that seem impossible. God is not intimidated by your big dreams. He's inviting you into them. The next dimension needs you to see yourself and your future through a lens of faith, not fear. The next you walks with a different kind of discipline regarding boundaries too. You can no longer afford to say yes to people, projects, or environments that deplete your purpose. The version of you that your next dimension requires understands the sacredness of energy, focus, and time. Protecting your peace is not selfishness, it's stewardship. You're not called to be everything to everyone. You are called to be faithful to the assignment on your life, and that means becoming strategic about who and what gets access to you. And transformation into the next version of yourself is not a one-time event, it's a lifestyle. It's waking up every day asking, who do I need to become today to honor the future I am building? It's confronting your habits, upgrading your thinking, challenging your fears, and celebrating your growth. You don't become her or him overnight. You become them moment by moment, decision by decision, prayer by prayer. Your next dimension is not just about what you will receive, it's about who you will have become by the time you get there. You must walk by faith, not by sight, flowing richly over 8 paragraphs, without a conclusion or ending, just like you asked. Walking by faith and not by sight is the cornerstone of shifting into your next dimension. It requires you to trust what you cannot yet see, to believe what has not yet materialized, and to keep moving even when the path looks unclear. Sight is limited to what your natural eyes can perceive, but faith taps into the unseen realm where promises are already fulfilled. Sight will tell you to wait until everything makes sense. Faith will tell you to move even when nothing makes sense. Shifting dimensions demands that you prioritize what you know by spirit over what you see by sight. If you live by sight, you will always be at the mercy of your circumstances. When things look good, you'll feel good. When things look hard, you'll shrink back. Sight ties your emotions to your environment, but faith anchors your emotions to your expectation. Faith teaches you that even when the ground looks dry, rain is coming. Even when the doors look shut, access is being prepared. Faith insists that God's word carries more weight than your current reality. It trains you to move according to destiny, not difficulty. Walking by faith requires a fierce refusal to let temporary conditions dictate permanent decisions. Many people abort their next dimension because they interpret delay as denial or discomfort as danger. Faith understands that delay is not defeat and that discomfort is often a sign of growth. It sees beyond the current moment and holds fast to the bigger picture. It says, even though I don't see it yet, I will build. Even though I don't feel it yet, I will trust. Even though it hasn't happened yet, I will prepare like it already has. Faith walking demands that you silence every competing voice that tries to plant doubt. Fear will always try to have the loudest voice when you are on the edge of your next dimension. People's opinions will rise up to question your steps. Even your own logic will try to talk you out of obeying. But faith is stubborn. But faith is stubborn. Faith knows that if God said it, it's settled, even if it's not yet seen. Faith doesn't require confirmation from people. It requires conviction from within. The louder the doubts, the louder your faith must roar. Faith is a discipline, not a feeling. It's not about waiting for the perfect moment when you feel invincible. It's about choosing to believe even when your emotions are shaky. It's about standing firm when your knees are trembling. True faith walks forward with tears in its eyes and fire in its belly. True faith dares to invest, to speak, to act when there's no visible evidence that things will work out. It's the grit to say, I don't see it yet, but I'm showing up for it anyway. Faith doesn't eliminate fear, it outvotes it. When you walk by faith, you will look foolish sometimes, to others and even to yourself. Building what you cannot yet see, preparing for what you cannot yet touch, will often make you feel misunderstood. But obedience to the unseen always precedes the manifestation of the seen. Noah looked foolish building an ark when there was no rain. Abraham looked foolish leaving everything familiar for a land he hadn't yet found. Esther looked foolish risking her life for a breakthrough that had no guarantee. Yet every breakthrough was born by faith, not sight. Walking by faith forces you to live from a posture of expectation. You begin to prepare rooms you haven't yet filled. You begin to write the vision for opportunities you haven't yet received. You start showing up with the excellence of someone who knows their moment is coming. Faith shifts your energy. It shifts your words. It shifts your attitude. You no longer wait to see evidence before you believe. You believe until the evidence catches up. Living by faith trains you to treat the invisible as more real than the visible. Every step of faith you take is a seed planted in your future. The prayers you whisper in private, the work you do when no one is watching, the sacrifices you make when no one is clapping, they are not wasted. Faith understands that harvest always follows seed time, even if the seasons between them are long and lonely. Faith doesn't quit when it doesn't see results right away. It presses forward, knowing that breakthrough is not a matter of if, but when. Walking by faith is what keeps you moving through the unknown into the undeniable. Your environment must match your assignment. Written out richly over 8 paragraphs, with no conclusion or ending, exactly as you asked, your environment is not just a backdrop to your life. It is an incubator for your destiny. The atmosphere you live, work, and breathe in will either nourish your assignment or suffocate it. Just like a seed requires the right soil to grow, your purpose requires the right surroundings to thrive. You cannot expect to build a future of greatness while staying rooted in environments of mediocrity, fear, and complacency. The space around you must be as intentional as the vision within you. The right environment doesn't happen by accident. It's created on purpose. If you stay in an environment that contradicts your assignment, eventually you'll start shrinking to fit the space instead of stretching to fit the calling. You were never designed to adapt to atmospheres that drain your spirit. You were created to rise, to disrupt, to build something different. Whoa. But that can't happen if you're constantly surrounded by doubt, negativity, and small thinking. Environments have a language, and if you are constantly exposed to conversations of limitation, you will subconsciously start speaking that language too. Guard your environment like your life depends on it, because your destiny does. Sometimes aligning your environment with your assignment requires hard choices. You may have to distance yourself from relationships that feel familiar but are no longer fruitful. You may have to leave spaces that once served you but now suffocate you. Growth demands movement, and movement demands courage. You cannot take everyone with you into your next. Some environments are meant to be a launching pad, not a landing place. Honor where you've been, but don't let loyalty to the past cost you your future. The environment you create within yourself is just as critical as the one around you. Your internal atmosphere, your thoughts, your emotions, your beliefs must also align with your assignment. You can't nurture a powerful calling in a heart filled with bitterness, fear, or unbelief. Your internal world must be one of faith, hope, resilience, and expectation. You are not just managing external distractions, you are cultivating internal agreement with where God is taking you. Sympathy. Your heart must be a sanctuary for your assignment, not a battlefield of conflicting emotions. Your physical space matters too. What you see every day affects how you think and what you believe about your future. Surround yourself with reminders of your calling. Fill your home, your workspace, your journal, your vision boards with words, images, and structures that support your dreams. Excellence must be reflected in your space because excellence calls forth greatness from within you. An environment of chaos breeds anxiety. An environment of order breeds creativity. Steward your physical environment the same way you steward your spirit, intentionally, carefully, and passionately. People are an integral part of your environment. Who you allow access to your heart, your mind, and your energy directly impacts your ability to fulfill your assignment. You need voices that challenge you to grow, not voices that coddle your excuses. You need people who celebrate your potential, not those who tolerate your presence. Relationships are either bridges or barriers to destiny. Choose wisely. Build friendships, mentorships, and alliances that strengthen your focus and sharpen your faith. The environments you choose to expose yourself to in this season will either accelerate your shift or anchor you in stagnation. You can't pray for next-level results while staying in entry-level environments. There is a sound, a movement, a language that accompanies your next dimension, and you must be immersed in it. You must hear conversations that stretch you, see examples that inspire you, and experience atmospheres that activate you. Exposure is everything. What you see repeatedly, you begin to believe is possible for you. Every time you upgrade your environment, you upgrade your expectation. And when your expectation rises, your preparation rises. When your preparation rises, your manifestation follows. God will often move you out of familiar environments, not to punish you, but to position you. He will close doors, shift relationships, and change seasons because he knows the environment you need is critical to the assignment you carry. Your responsibility is to discern the shift and move when he moves. Your environment must match your assignment because where you're going is too important to risk being planted in the wrong soil. You must master your mind to master your moment, expanded richly into 8 paragraphs without a conclusion or ending. Just as you requested, the greatest battles you will ever fight happen in your mind. Before you win in public, you must win in private. Before you seize the moment God has prepared for you, you must first seize the thoughts that try to sabotage you. Mastering your mind is not optional if you are serious about stepping into your next dimension. Every moment of elevation requires mental alignment. Net alignment. It is not enough to be talented, gifted, or anointed if your mind is still chained to doubt, fear, and unworthiness. Your mind must come into agreement with your assignment. Thoughts are seeds, and every seed grows into something, either faith or fear, courage or confusion, destiny or distraction. You cannot afford to entertain every thought that enters your mind. Mastery requires discernment. You must know which thoughts to nurture and which thoughts to cast down. If you allow every fear-based, insecure, or self-defeating thought to take root, it will grow into behaviors that choke out your purpose. Winning the battle for your mind is how you win the battle for your moment. Mental mastery means learning to interrupt destructive patterns before they become your identity. You have to recognize the loops, the cycles of overthinking, the habits of procrastination, the lies of inadequacy. Mastery looks like taking those thoughts captive and replacing them with truth. It looks like declaring the word over your mind until it shifts. It looks like speaking life when your emotions scream defeat. Mastery doesn't mean the negative thoughts never come. It means they no longer have authority when they do. In the moment of opportunity, your mind will either be your greatest asset or your greatest adversary. When doors open, when platforms are presented, when assignments are released, it won't be your gift alone that sustains you. It will be your mindset. The pressure of the next dimension requires a mind that is rooted, stable, and focused. You must think like the leader you are called to be even before you feel like one. The moment is coming, but you must first build the mind strong enough to handle it. Mastery also involves managing what you feed your mind daily. Garbage in, garbage out. If you constantly feed your mind with fear-driven news, gossip, distractions, and negativity, don't be surprised when fear and doubt show up louder than your faith. You must be a ruthless guardian of your mental diet. Pour in wisdom, inspiration, truth, and vision until they are the loudest voices you hear. You are programming your future with every thought you accept and every belief you internalize. There is no elevation without mental evolution. You cannot carry old thinking into new seasons. The version of you that walks boldly into destiny has disciplined their mind to see opportunity where others see obstacles, to hear solutions where others hear problems, to expect favor where others expect failure. Mental mastery sharpens your perception so you can see what God is doing, even when it's not obvious. It tunes your spirit to discern movement, timing, and strategy that others miss because they are distracted. Mastering your mind also means preparing for the unexpected. Every next level moment will come with unexpected challenges, delays, and opposition. If your mind is not anchored, you'll misinterpret a delay as a denial or an attack as a sign to quit. Mental mastery trains you to stay the course, no matter what storms arise. It teaches you that discomfort is part of destiny and pressure is part of preparation. You become unshakable not because the road is smooth, but because your mind is steady, even when the road is rough. Ultimately, mastering your mind gives you the power to master your moment. It means you show up ready, not hoping, not guessing, but knowing who you are and what you carry. It means you command the atmosphere with your presence, lead with authority, and move with clarity. It means you don't shrink back when it's time to step up. The moment won't wait for you to get ready. The door won't stay open forever. Master your mind now so when the moment calls your name, you answer it without hesitation, without fear, and without apology.